Good evening, our fellow Trekkies and Trekkers and Picardians. Yeah, I just came up with that. And we are here for our Star Trek Picard after show. As always, I am Christian Bladt, and you are Nikki Bailey.
I am Nikki Bailey.
And we are here talking about episode 3 of Star Trek Picard. And what we've been getting a lot of on our Star Trek after shows is people in the chat, usually Jason Blair, who haven't watched the episode yet. So we'll give you a minute before we dive into any spoilers. But honestly, there's not a lot to spoil in terms of this episode. I mean, there's a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of episode 2. Now, anyone who's also keeping up with Star Trek Discovery saw Nikki and I cover the season 4 finale of that yesterday, right here on the Blackcast YouTube channel, and we both talked about how very emotional that episode was. And right before we started here, I mentioned to Nikki that I had slightly less emotions while watching episode 3 of Star Trek Picard, Assimilation. Nikki, give us assimilate your thoughts with our audience.
It was fine. It was a fine second episode. I will say it was even though they went back to 2024 and they looked kind of normal, they still stood out as not normal to me, and maybe this makes no sense whatsoever, but I I don't know. I was a little disappointed by them by the way they showed up in the 24th century. I expected there to, like, where did they crash land that nobody came to investigate? And
Yeah, so the impression that I got when he said home was that they were going to be at the Picard vineyard in France. And that might be where they are, but if they are there, wouldn't you have told us? Because I mean, you could land there and he would have relative knowledge of the entire area. Sure, we could land out here in a vineyard, or perhaps they grow some wheat out that way. He could land in a wheat field, perhaps. But then, I mean, and look, you land anywhere on Earth, and with their technology, you can beam them anywhere on the planet. It's fine. But it was not addressed, and I was thinking I missed something. But Nikki, you and I didn't both miss something, did we?
we didn't. We
Yeah.
didn't. They didn't address it. And I don't know why that I feel that they had to, but I do. I feel like they had to address it somehow. You don't go back in time and crash land on Earth and not tell us where you crash land.
It's very memorable in Star Trek for the Voyage Home. Remember where we parked? You know,
Right.
they have a Klingon bird of prey that they cloak, and you better have Spock hold on to the keys. Actually, no, he didn't have pants in that movie. He just had a robe. So don't have Spock hold the keys. But yeah, that was it was definitely a question. Before we got to that point, we did pick right up where we left off last week. And look, I think Mr. of Nine was definitely not a character that we were going to get attached to, nor should we have expected to see much of him. He basically was dispatched as unceremoniously as the least ceremonious red shirt in the history of Star Trek. Yeah, his two security buddies did go first, but then it was just like, and I do love that they seem to have had these kind of phasers that there's no stun. Why would I stun somebody if I'm
Right.
shooting them? It's not so that they can drop dead, not so that they can pass out. I'm going to incinerate them.
Except Elnor didn't get killed
Great point. That is a great point.
immediately. He didn't get evaporated.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I think that he was hit by a plot device. So which our friend comedian Tom Kelly, who was on last week, he watched the episode before me and he couldn't talk to me about it, and he sent me an email with all of his thoughts, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it is very long. And he did comment that it was a little plot heavy. I saw that in the he texted me before. I was like, whoa, I haven't seen it, don't let me know that there's plot. But yeah, and I think, sort of the setting up, we know that we're going back to 2024 from the previous episode, and the Borg Queen doesn't seem to have too much trouble. There's, of course, always the question about, like, I mean, Rios in the previous episode was like, "What are you doing? You're plugging the Borg Queen into my ship?"
Right.
You know, and but they really had no other choice. It seemed like the slingshot around the sun is easier to do every time they've shown it to us in Star Trek. Do you feel like that's an accurate description, Nikki?
Yeah, at this point there's like zero chance of it not working.
Yeah.
It's just going to work every time. Time travel is just that easy.
Yeah, the next time that it's done in a Star Trek, any part of the Star Trek franchise, they're not even going to show it. They'll be like, "Oh, we'll just do the slingshot," and then it's just like a title card that says whatever,
Right.
2026 or whatever it is. So, yeah, but I mean, I think that, relying on the Borg Queen is a great bit of storytelling. It is sort of the unlikeliest of alliances, but it's also the only person that they have at their disposal who could have been able to help them,
Yeah.
So, what did you think about the interaction with the Borg Queen before we get to Girardi, which we'll talk about in a second? But her name is Girardi, although I always want to call her Girardi, like baseball manager Joe Girardi, former catcher for the New York Yankees. But her name is Girardi, and I thought it was Girardi last season, and then I saw it written out this year, and I'm like, oh, it's Girardi.
Well, she's just crazy murder doctor now,
Yep,
so it
crazy
doesn't really
murder
matter.
doctor, and she showed those stripes. Picard referenced stripes, and I think it was spots, leopard spots, and we saw those spots in this episode.
Yeah. I felt like this Borg Queen is so much more expressive than the previous Borg Queen.
Yeah,
Um, uh,
yeah.
and
The one
and
in Nemesis was when we
and
met the Borg Queen, correct?
yeah,
Star Trek Nemesis. Yeah,
Nemesis. Yeah,
it
was it
was
Nemesis?
an insurrection because nothing happened in that movie. So
So, so she's a lot more expressive. Um, I was concerned for Crazy Murder Doctor. I was concerned about her being assimilated, but I was more curious about how they were going to show this happening. And it was a little, I'm not going to say boring, but it was a little slow, that moment of, like, her doing her maneuvering through and whatever. So it was a little weird to watch, I thought.
I think that there were some interesting moments in that we hadn't really seen before. The fact that Crazy Murder Doctor is so crazy that essentially at a moment it looked like she was assimilating the Borg Queen, because they were each basically finishing each other's sentences, you know. And I thought it was kind of a cool scene because, I mean, when Picard became Locutus, and I think there's flashbacks from Seven, but we haven't really seen this sort of one-on-one. I mean, being assimilated by the Borg we've seen, but I don't think this kind of interaction with the Queen is something we've ever seen before.
No.
So I did find
Yeah.
it to be interesting, and that it just tells us, though, there's just too much crazy for even, the Borg Queen can handle millions and probably billions of voices in her head, but not if one of those voices is
It's
Crazy
Crazy
Murder
Murder
Doctor.
Doctor.
And
It's
I
a
I
valid
did
point.
I did think that the Borg Queen did have a good line when she sort of warned her that she impressed her,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
and of course she had a folder called "Crazy Shit I Stole from the Borg Queen." So I thought it was interesting. So she has the location, and it wouldn't be good storytelling if it's like, yeah, I got everything we needed out of the Board Queen, so now we can shoot her in the head like Rios wanted to, which bless Rios. He's definitely a shoot first and ask questions later, or maybe never ask questions kind of guy.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
fly by the seat of his pants kind of dude. But he's got that. I think he's a little more noble this season than he was last season. I feel like last season it took a lot of convincing to get him to be helpful, and this season he's a lot more heroic, and I'm kind of he's growing on me. I didn't really love him last
No,
season.
I think that they had to make everybody a little bit less rough around the edges, including Crazy Murder Doctor. And character-wise, it works for Rios because, he ended up in Starfleet. He was a captain. I mean, it was only a few months, I think, between seasons 1 and 2, but it was enough time for him to kinda, you know, I don't know. I mean, he's a little bit less rough around the edges, basically. And I think that they did a good job on that. And boy, uh, we there have been transporter mishaps in the history of Star Trek. Most disturbingly, in the motion picture, when creatures got humans, I think, got combined accidentally. But just being beamed in the middle of the air and then getting knocked out on your as you're falling, that's not a great way to go, is it?
Yeah, especially not being a Latino man in LA. Not a great
Well, at,
experience.
at,
So
at least they, what if they had dumped him off in Beverly Hills? We had that establishing shot in front of Cartier at one point. Imagine if he hit his head outside in front of Cartier.
right.
He would have probably disappeared from the series and never be seen again. So yeah, I thought that we got some. Well, I guess we didn't really see that much of how Raffi when she first materialized, but of course somebody tries to rob. Or who tried to get robbed? Oh, it was Raffi who tried to get
Yeah,
robbed. It was seven. It was
Raffi.
seven. Yeah, I had them mixed up. Yeah, because they look the same. No, it was I forgot which one of them almost got mugged. And either one of them. I mean, honestly, any of the three of them. You try to rob Rios. You try to Picard. You could take his wallet. I'm going to say
Right.
that this age of Picard, you're
You
getting
know,
his
if
wallet.
if Picard can get bitch slapped by Q, yeah, you can take his wallet. But no,
Yeah,
Raffi dispatched with that mugger quite quite handily.
and
It was an impressive move,
one
and
of the
her
most
hair looks
likable.
fabulous.
Her hair does look, yeah, it does look good. One of the most likable moments, I'll have to message our pal Flobo this, was when she stole the money out of the mugger's wallet.
Yes.
That I was like, good for you, Raffi. So, um, yeah. So, I guess I think I jumped a little ahead, but we talked about what happened with Elnor, and I mean, why is he even in this season if they were gonna kill him in the 3rd episode? So, there was a lot of concern about whether or not he would, basically reappear if they fix the timeline. There's no reason for us to have had him in these episodes if he was gonna stay dead. I don't quite know what the fix is. Maybe the Borg Queen's got ideas, but I feel like we have not seen the last of him. I think they just needed a reason for Raffi to get angry. What do you think about that moment?
I 100% agree with you. I don't think we've seen the last of Elnor, and I think it'll be something that the Borg Queen somehow or Q, maybe even Q, I guess, brings him back. Maybe.
That's true
So
because Q
yeah,
selected these people to be in the wrong timeline or the wrong version of the timeline. So I mean, yeah, Q. I assume Q can bring anybody back, even the Q that it looks like something's wrong with him, according to Jean Luc. So yeah, I think that there's a reason why he's there, and Q seems like the most obvious fix. The The mission on Earth, I thought, let's just put it this way, I didn't love it. the I mean, it's like it screams to me like that they're spending a lot of money on the budget later in the season, and that's why they went to essentially present day Los Angeles. And it was
Mm,
like, I mean, they were within a few blocks of each other, there,
yeah.
there's like there's like one home base for all the LA shooting. And and it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's cute. Seven and Rafi's little thing with the security guard. They were going for banter, and I'm just like, you know what this doesn't feel like right now? Star Trek.
It felt like a procedural to me. It
Yeah.
felt like, yeah, I was like, where are we even? What is even
Well, I
happening? This
believe I believe it was a very special episode of NCIS Picard,
is right.
which would be very awkward when Captain Archer walks in because he's also on an NCIS franchise. And Lieutenant Dan too. No, that was CSI. My mistake. But so yeah, and it was like the Rios in the medical clinic annoyed me a lot less. But it was also like, all right, so he happens to be brought in for a very attractive single lady of similar ethnicity. I don't want to generalize what her ethnicity is versus his, but they both spoke Spanish. And it was just like, man, what a lucky guy, like being brought into that's his doctor. Good for
Right.
you, Rios.
Right.
I thought it was cute with the kid. And then, of course, the idea of like eating real peanut butter cookies.
I know, right?
Yeah, I thought that was
That
fun.
that made me actually really want some of those peanut butter cookies, and I made a note to buy the ingredients to make those.
All
So
right. Well, I'll swing by for my plate before our
no
next
problem.
episode. Thank you. Maybe they're serving them today at the pop up 10 forward that we weren't able to go to.
Oh,
Talk a little bit. Let's talk about both of our LA based storylines, and I'll let you pick which one you want first. Do you want the ladies or do you want to talk Rios?
let's talk Rios.
Okay. So
Yeah,
yeah, talk about him and his new doctor friend, and I guess that boy was let's see, that was her
her
son.
son.
At first, I thought from what she said that it was her nephew, but then it was then it apparently was her son. Yeah.
I'm gonna actually be mad at myself for saying this, but I thought it was all adorable and cute.
Okay.
I
No,
I
don't be mad because
I
I wasn't sure about the doctor, but I did like him with the kid. I was
and
like,
with the
you
kid.
can't just take it from me. That would be stealing.
Right. I mean, it was so cute. It was the most that I've liked him since the series has started.
Yeah.
Um I really I thought the whole thing in the doctor's office was adorable, and I'm not Latina, but I had a little moment of pride when he said Chris and then corrected himself and said his full name Cristobal. Like I was like, yeah, man, claim your heritage.
Yeah, it's interesting because even in the 24th century, it's probably just like, it's just easier for people if I call myself Chris.
Hmm.
And yeah, I thought that there was some nice moments. And what do you think the odds are that that little boy is like his great 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 grandfather? I don't know how many greats it would be, but it's a bunch of greats, because it's like 400 years
Right.
beforehand. So, or 300, I think. So, what are the odds that this is part of his family tree?
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, I mean, he's gonna he's gonna fall in love with his great great grandmother or something, and then
Ew.
that's like beyond Back to the Future stuff.
Yeah, that's way out there.
Yeah, but you know what? Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, it had a very quantum leap feel, and some people might use that in a derogatory way. But oh man, did I love that show when it was on first run. But in any case, yeah, I thought it was all cute, and then it's like, all right, dealing with, I guess in 2 years, in 2 years' time, We haven't figured out immigration in any
Immigration,
way.
yeah.
It's
Mm-mm.
completely believable that the police are just kicking down doors like, yeah, we know that you help people that, oh, go figure, don't have wallets and whatnot, you know?
Yeah,
So, but
yeah,
it seemed in character that he didn't run away with the old man out the door, you know, that he tried to help out, you
yeah.
know?
I thought that was a nice move. It just made him so likable. Um, and and I feel like I shouldn't like it because there's a part of me that feels like it was also super cheesy,
Yeah.
but I was there for it, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they get him out of ice jail,
Yeah.
and uh yeah, and how they even find him again.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, it was definitely a big plate of schmaltz with a side of queso, you know, for dipping the schmaltz into. I feel, but it did work. The Raffian 7, I don't even know, should we call her Annika when she doesn't have the implants? It's confusing. We'll just call her 7. Um, I was just like, I don't know. Why did it annoy me so much? Tell me that first, Nikki.
I don't know why it annoyed. Why did it annoy you, Christian?
I think the idea, like, so the part that worked was 7 saying things like, yes, we wanted to recapture an image for our cellular devices. So, like, not being able to talk in the slang, like, that part was fine.
Right.
And then, but then the fact that she was able, this woman who has been part machine for all of her adult life since she was a little girl, all of a sudden is like, oh, so, you know, my fiance and I, and it was just like, I would have found that believable from Raffi. I thought that
Right.
it just would have been more consistent if 7 was never particularly, if she was, I mean, she was definitely like flirting with that guy in a weird way, you know, trying to disarm him.
Yeah.
And at least, so I think that the fact that it was 7, I don't know how to use slang, but I have this personality that you never knew about me. And maybe, look, she did, she doesn't have her implants, so maybe things that have been suppressed for her life aren't there. But yeah, I'm just not feeling it. So
I get
that was
that.
it.
I get that. I think you made some valid points. It didn't annoy me. Um uh except that, I was annoyed at the whole women using their women, the feminine wiles, but the lesbian feminine wiles
Yeah.
were a little much. It was like, let's throw all of the things at this problem, and if the lesbian fantasy doesn't get him, I'll blink my eyes at him all flirty like. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, the
Like,
idea that Kurt might have been more funner than him
oh, right,
was, yeah,
right.
there was that was part of it. And yeah, I think it was and I'm not faulting Jerry Ryan. It's not the actress, it's the character. Just I was just like, I feel like 7 doesn't have that in her, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I think that's
also,
a really clever thing to have noticed. I did not pick up on that.
well,
Yeah.
when I'm looking for things that bother me, they present themselves upon reflection, I suppose. But in any case, it also, I mean, yes, there's more to come, I guess, in episode 4, but nothing was accomplished by that. They're just high up and they were scanning and they're like, oh, we can find his communicator, or I think it was a communicator. Yeah, that was the
Because
device that they, yeah. So,
mhm,
you know, they basically were able to figure out where Rios was, but not actually go to him. So, yeah, so them being up on top of that building has not yielded any
helped in
results
anything in any
just
way.
yet, but
Yeah.
I assume, I guess next week it will. So, I don't know. I guess I can appreciate that so far we have not gotten a crazy amount of, when you do time travel, there is always a lot of self-aware, like, huh? What do you think about this? Look at that, huh? That's so crazy, you know? And I think the Star Trek The Voyage Home did a great job of it, you know? And even though it wasn't a straight time travel story in this sense, City on the Edge of Forever, just the realization of differences, I think it's not something that you usually get out of Star Trek. But in time travel in general, there's usually a lot of winks to a lot of winks to the present day. It's I always have to go back to the Future. There's the conversation that Marty has at the restaurant. And of all the things for him to ask for is a Pepsi free, which is what Diet Pepsi was in 1985. And you get a whole bit
Right.
out of it. How am I going to give you a Pepsi for free? What do you mean you want a tab? You haven't ordered anything yet. And it's like, okay, all right. It's exhausting. And now it's like, even my wife, who's like 8 years older than me, I have to like explain that scene to her because it's like, what's a tab and what's a Pepsi free? I'm like, let's just skip that scene. Let's just go past it. So, it was like, if you remember, of course, people remember that 70s show. For a short amount of time, there was something called that 80s show. And that 80s show was like 22 minutes of like, I'm talking to you on a phone and I'm outside, and it's just like, oh, stop, make it stop.
I'm listening to music on my cassette player, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a lot of like, look, now I don't have to get up and change the channels on the TV. What? So, but let's revisit this in subsequent episodes because from the trailer of the season as a whole, I think we're going to get a little bit of that. There's a driving scene that I know is coming, and I feel like them, I think Rios is driving a car, and I'm like, this won't go well. In general, the episode is okay. Here's what I think I was worried about because I've established over our previous 2 episodes, my thoughts on Q are very different now because of what season 1 of this show was. And John Delancey said that he's in 6 episodes. Well, he was in this episode for like 4 seconds. So I'm like, wait, was this one of his 6 episodes? And if so, stop wasting him like that.
Right.
Right.
That was a waste, especially since no one else saw him but Picard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That was a waste of John. I also, it also seemed a little un-Q like though. He wouldn't pop in like that usually and just be visible to one person. That seemed a little, now that I'm thinking about it, seemed a little weird for Q as well.
Maybe Jean-Luc was hallucinating and Q will be like, no, I didn't see you. Like, I haven't seen you since I slapped you. Let's talk about the search for the Watcher. It's Guinan, right? I mean, we talked about this last week, right? I mean, it's like there were no clues this week that it was, but there were also not clues that it's anyone else. So it's Guinan, right?
It's got to be Guinan. It's got to be.
Yeah. And then because they made a point in episode 1 that she had let herself like age forward a little bit, are they going to do the CGI? Are they going to do the Robert De Niro Irishman thing where they've like, they're going to use footage of Whoopi from like Burglar and Jumping Jack Flash, and it'll be like, yeah, it's young Guinan. It's even like before Star Trek Generations Guinan. So
that is a really interesting point. I hadn't thought of that either.
That's why I'm here. I'm here to share my thinking because I watched it this afternoon and I've had a couple hours to ruminate and do me some thinking. And I just the other main storyline in this episode is really interacting with the Borg Queen. And I thought Crazy Murder Doctor did get some nice moments where she was, sharing her emotions with Jean-Luc. And when she was angry, I was like, all right, that's kind of funny, and Jean-Luc is like, nobody talks to me like that. I mean, except for maybe Dr. Crusher, but that's just my theory. We've never seen it.
And I loved her little confession about, because I wish you were my dad. That was adorable.
I did like that actually, because cute. I was like, yeah, I'm sure she does, and Crazy Murder Doctor, you meant you wish he was your great grandfather,
right?
He's like 99. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that I don't know. And look, ever since we got to see the alternate timeline possibility of a spouse for Annika slash Seven, I've liked Raffi a lot more this season. And we'll see. I think that she had every right to, she basically said she had a problem with leadership, as in Jean Luc, and she makes a really valid point. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm on Jean Luc's side that this isn't a game that we play. This is a game that Q plays. But it's also like, what is it about you that Q can't quit you? That what is it about you that Q comes back? I mean, I assume it's the passage of real time, and it's like 35 years since he's seen him, since All Good Things, the finale of Next Generation. So I thought that she did make a good point, but I'm going to side with Jean Luc that it's Q that does stuff like this, and Q wants to mess with timelines and bring humanity face to face with the Borg hundreds of years before they need to, just because he can. What do you think about Raffi's point, but also Jean-Luc's explanation for it?
I think that Raffi was just really emotional, and I don't know that there was another option. I don't know that there was any other thing they could do. Um, but then I guess on the other hand, you have to think like, why does he get to be the one who decides who that they're not going to divert the power they need to sick bay? Why is he the one who gets to be the boss and decide who lives and dies? So on the one hand, I can see, but I can see it both ways. Q is creating this scenario, and Jean Luc is just responding to it. Um, but I also can see Raffi's point as well. So I don't know. I'm torn.
Well, maybe throughout the course of the season, we'll get to see both of their sides a little bit more. So we'll have to check in on the game of chess that Jean Luc and Q are playing. We'll have to check in on annoying time travel gags. So far, so good. Earlier I referenced City on the Edge of Forever, which of course is a classic episode of the original series. Um, this episode takes a character, and in the case of the original episode, it was Dr. McCoy. But the idea that you run into a healer as a professional love interest, in that case, it was Joan Collins. I hope I got with the right Collins for that episode. But now, now I'm like, wait a minute, which Collins was that? But in any case, I hope that we don't. It's already feeling familiar to the voyage home, and I just hope that we don't tread too much familiar ground. I don't think that's what we're getting, but it was something that I thought about with
Yeah.
the Rios and Teresa storyline. So not an actual complaint, but I'm voicing my concern now, just in case it ends up playing out too similarly to that episode.
We are documenting it so that we
Yep.
can reference it later.
Yeah. And if it doesn't happen, we can ignore it. But if it happens, I can be, and I told you so. I will be nothing but and I told you so. So let's wind things down momentarily. But this is a good time to mention that we will not do this show next week, mostly just to a family obligation that I have. So 2 weeks from today, we will double up on episodes 4 and 5. That is April 1st. So April Fools, but for real, we really will do it. That's not an actual April Fool's joke. We'll be there on April Fools. It's just so you remember what day you can see us again. But please come find us in 2 weeks' time as we talk about episodes 4 and 5. But as we look ahead, is there anything you're concerned about? I'm talking about how I don't want to see anything that's too similar to one, The Voyage Home, to City on the Edge of Forever. Do you have any concerns with anything you're seeing in this storyline? And also, is there anything that you're hoping that you do get to see in the course of these next couple weeks?
Not concerned, but I'm intrigued by them taking on immigration as an issue, and so I'm interested to see what they do with that. And uh, I'm looking forward to seeing how they reconnect Rios with his badge and with the rest of the team. I'm looking forward to Whoopi.
Yeah.
It better be Whoopi is all I'm saying. It better be
What if it's
Whoopi.
Joy Behar?
No.
They were like, we wanted it to be Whoopi, but
But
she just recommended one of her friends. She's also a comedian, you know, or Rosie O'Donnell, the Watcher.
no,
Okay,
it has
uh,
to be Guinan.
I want it to be Guinan. All right,
Yeah,
we're Team Guinan. But yeah, I'm excited to see her. So translation, we better see her.
right, exactly.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I think a lot of the things that annoyed me about season one are just not present so far in this season. And I think it's not perfect, and it is not the it's not the tearjerker that the Discovery season 4 finale was, but I'm finding it to be a very serviceable episode 3 stepping stone, where going into this episode, I'm like, I know that we'll be in 2024 during this episode. So
Yeah,
I think that they did a good job. There's some interesting seeds. uh we got to get something out of Seven and Raffi being on the roof of that building, because so far there have been no returns on that.
right.
So,
Agreed.
and I want the explanation for where Jean-Luc crashed the ship, because if it is at his vineyard, why didn't they tell us? Unless there's going to be a big reveal. I mean, how many generations ago is this? So there'll be some distant relative of his, and I guess these are all things that we'll see in the near future.
They got some splaining to do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jean-Luc. And by the way, the JL count in this episode was 0,
0.
because
It was beautiful.
she was too mad to call him JL.
Yeah, she was.
So here's my fingers crossed. I hope Raffi stays mad, because then she's not going to call him JL. Also, the slapping of JL count, or see, I called him JL. The slapping of Jean-Luc count in this episode also 0.
Also 0.
I would like that to remain 0 as well. In any case, Nikki, I think I'm very interested to see where this all plays out. And yes, I can see the forest through the trees. Strange New Worlds is very exciting. I'm glad it's coming. I just don't want this show to let me down as we spin our wheels for like what I think the next like 5 or 6 weeks. Like,
Yeah,
keep me entertained, keep the seat warm, keep the little spot, the Trek spot in my heart warm. That's all I need from this
that's
show.
all we need. Right. I don't think we're asking too much.
Yeah, we're not asking too much. And there were times during this season of Discovery where they were not keeping my heart warm, where uh I definitely felt like Elsa from Frozen. Things had just gotten very cold. I felt very very distant. In any case, I look forward to getting to talk more about this with you and any of our upcoming rotating, our revolving door of co-hosts. I know that a month from now, our pal Flobo will be able to join us again. So it'll be good to, I'm sure he's keeping detailed notes for his Raffi fanfic that he's working on. So, but until April Fool's Day, when we'll be back talking more Picard, Nikki, where can people keep in touch with you?
You can find me at nikkibaileycomedy.com or on all the social medias at nikkibailey_.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. Please subscribe to the Blackcast YouTube channel, BLADTCAST, where many of you are watching this right now. And you'll always know when this show's going live. And as I said before, our next episode will be in 2 weeks' time, April 1st. And don't forget, we did cover season 4 of Star Trek Discovery. So if you're getting caught up on that, you can catch up on our show as well. We spent a lot of time on the finale. It was very emotional. Please join us and share the tears. But that is all the time we have for this week. Until April Fool's Day, I will say live long and prosper.